youtube.com/openupyourmind101.
Okay, all right. I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to be the brother filming that day. Before we get into some questions from people around the country and, just general questions I might have, we need to know how do we get in contact with you for herbs? Because a lot of people are going to Brooklyn to get the herbs. I know there's the fig tree in Brooklyn, but I understand you're not affiliated with them no more. So how can we contact Doctor Sebi to get herbs?
It is 310 838 2490.
2490. I'm going to repeat that for y'all. To contact Dr. Sebi, there's been a lot of confusion. People have been going to different sources. The correct number is 310-838-2490. Okay, now, what's your opinion, Dr. Sebi, on what's going on right now?
It's one thing that they could do, and no one is doing it. And this is why the epidemic is taking such a great, a great hold on people, and it's even broader. It's because the immune system is becoming weaker every day. They themselves said that it is the children that below 40, below 50, they are the one that is primarily attacked. But rightfully so. They are the one that benefited more from the artificial foods than anyone else. Or they've not benefited, but they receive more of it than us, like myself in the 70s, I'm 76. So we didn't have the amount of food we have now, the kind of, processed food like the children are receiving today. As for myself, because I've never been to school, I wasn't subjected to the food that they feed you in school. I only ate what my parents cooked. That helped me. So therefore, I didn't have to be inoculated. I was never inoculated. But for children of today, I don't know, and I don't think it is a good thing to do anyway, because they have to explain how does this H1N1 vaccine could assimilate. How could it assimilate to do the work that they claim it's supposed to be doing? When it is a chemical, it's a step down. Instead, it is a dead version of the disease itself. If it's a dead version of the disease itself, then we want you to explain scientifically how does a dead version of the disease that I'm being protected from is going to help me. But we never question these things. We never question anything. You see, as black people, we don't know what to ask. As black people, we never had another perspective to rely on or to compare with. We have to accept everything that the Europeans said because we don't have anything of our own. We're too busy trying to follow them. We are too busy trying to decipher what they're doing, but we're not busy trying to find out what God gave us. We're not interested in that. Nobody's interested in that. Because nowadays, when you talk about God, you are in trouble. And I'm talking about from the preacher on down. Because the Holy Bible states that the herbs are for the healing of the nations. In the book of Genesis, in the book of Revelation, in the book of Ezekiel, it states that the fruits shall be for meat, and the leaves shall be for the healing of the nations. Well, if we're going to say that we are Christians, and we love the Lord, and the Lord is everything every day, but the Lord said, eat fruits and use herb for medicine. But everybody's saying, to hell with the Lord. That is the breakdown. The breakdown is us. Because something was done to us to prevent us from yielding to the mandate of God Almighty. I could see myself violating the police. I could see myself avoiding the law. But I cannot see myself just turning against God and expect to survive. That is where the breakdown begins. Now, if I am a Christian and I claim that I follow God the way that we all claim to be so in love with, well, it says in the Bible that the herbs are for healing. Why should I even think about a H1N1?
Sebi,
Okay.
Sebi, this is Paul, one of the twins. How are you, sir?
Yes, sir. Paul, yes, sir. How's your brother?
Yes. Everybody's
How's
good.
good?
He's wonderful.
Kimani.
Wonderful. Everyone's good. And yourself?
Oh, I'm doing beautiful. Praise God. Praise God.
Wonderful.
How's your mommy?
She's wonderful as well.
That's good. Tell her hi for me.
I will. I want to ask you something. Can you explain to people the process that red blood cells are regenerated in the body? Because being that this generation has been exposed to GMOs, you know, is it true that as the red blood cells are being created, they're becoming weaker, which makes for weaker tissue, which makes for a weaker immune system?
Well, of course, because the red blood cells, beside anything, the first thing the red blood cells is asking for us to do, to replenish, to revitalize, to strengthen. And we are talking about iron. We are talking about iron phosphate. We are not talking about ferrous sulfate. We are talking about iron phosphate. And none of us, you have been the recipient of many good things because of the exposure of your mother. Your mother knows a lot about the healing and understand about nutrition. So you were fortunate in many ways. But most of the children, 99.9%, if you ask them, when was the last time that you were given iron? They would know when. In fact, never. And the red blood cells need iron. Iron is the food of the red blood cells, or else it would break down. This is why they break down into a sickle. This is why we are able to cure sickle cell anemia, because the doctors are looking for something else. They're going to bone marrow. They're trying to apply methods that never really help us. We found out that when the red blood cells are weak, you're susceptible not only to sickle cell anemia, leukemia, hypoglycemia, or dual anemia. You are susceptible to 40 different diseases, including cancer. So we need iron. We need iron fluorine. And this is why Dr. Sebi, in the last 10 years, have changed the whole formula around. In fact, the rumor around town, especially in New York, that I didn't have the original formula. Well, I tell you what, when I started out in 1980, 1979, the formula that I had then, they have gone through tremendous changes over a period of, 30 years now? Of course, I've changed them maybe 4 or 5 times. And the one we have now, even though we are curing AIDS, I'm going to change them in a few. Why? I'm never satisfied. I'm always looking to develop better or growth.
Do you have a website, Dr. Sebi, that people
Yes,
can go to?
yes, we have a website. We have a website. It's www.drsebi.
That's it? Just Dr. Sebi?
DrSebiProducts.com.
Is it DR Sebi or
DR,
Okay.
DR, lowercase.
Wonderful.
Okay. That's www.drsebiproducts.com. Anybody who wants to go to Dr. Sebi's website. And again, the calling number, everybody, 646-727-2039 if you have questions for Dr. Sebi. All right, go ahead.
Can you specify to the listeners what that particular iron concoction is that you're talking about that you have available for them?
The iron concoction come under the category of phosphates. You see, the body needs phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides. These have never been mentioned. These, no one even touched upon the subject to understand what are these. What are they? They are food and vitalizers. Biochemically, these are the substance that electrify the body. These are the substance that keep you alive and nourished. But we never receive those things. What we receive is cyanide, arsenides, mercury and antimony.
Mm.
Forgetting about, not even knowing about phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides. This is why when the coroner, listen to this, when the coroner of Los Angeles asked me, what did you give Michael Jackson? Everybody gave Michael Jackson a chemical, all kinds of chemicals, 27 of them or more. What did you give Michael? I said, I gave him phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides. The doctors on the panel didn't know how to respond. Their mouths were open. But the coroner, he didn't know what I was talking about. He didn't know anything about what I was talking about. But the black people of the United States and the world is unaware that the black man, that the white man never knew the philosophy of medicine that exists today is a European one. We don't know where these things complement us or not. We don't know. So when I mentioned that the category of food that I gave Mr. Michael Jackson was phosphate, carbonates, iodides, and bromides, the coroner, instead of saying, well, I don't know what he's talking about, then I would have helped the boy. He went on to say that, well, these things sound like they would not hurt him, but not necessarily help him. Well, I can't see why he would say that when the science of biochemistry shows us these are the very thing and the only thing that nourishes and cures the body.
Right. Can you briefly speak on Michael's medical condition when you were dealing with him?
When I went to see Michael, he could not sleep. He was severely anemic and delirious. Delirious, anemic, and could not sleep. At the ending of 2 months, he was sleeping, no longer delirious, and he was no longer anemic. In fact, Michael himself stopped talking to me about his condition after the 3rd month. We didn't talk about his condition at all. We were traveling. He was designing the pieces that we were going to develop in Africa. We were going to develop in South Africa, Gabon, and Guinea. These are the 3 places that we were going to develop centers in Africa to help the continent. But we all know what happened.
Okay.
Do you ever fear for your life for being for disseminating the type of information that you put out there and helping people all over the world?
Why should I fear for my life when I'm doing something for humanity? Are you telling me that I live in a country that doesn't give a damn about morality? Is that what you're telling me?
I let the people be the judge on that one.
No, I'm not asking about the people. I'm asking about you. You asked the question. Am I afraid of my life? Well, why should I be afraid of my life? I'm not even afraid of God or the devil. Why should I be afraid of my life? I'm not one of those who live with fear. I don't fear God. I don't fear the devil. I fear no one. So why should I be afraid of my life? And what my life's supposed to do with it anyway? I came to cure AIDS. The president said, George Bush said, that if anyone find the cure of AIDS, President Obama said, if anyone find the cure for AIDS, to come forward. Well, I found it, and I come forward. So I'm supposed to fear for my life now, isn't it?
Well, those. What do you think about the death of Lisa Left Eye Lopez?
What do I think about the death of Lisa Left Eye Lopez? To answer that is to ask me, what do I think of the death of my son, or the death of my brothers, or the death of anyone? When the time comes, that's the time that you're supposed to leave. There was nothing wrong with the death of Lisa Lopez. She died right on time. I miss her. All of us missed her. All of us love her. But the inevitable has to be respected. There could be no occurrence unless that occurrence is supposed to occur.
Okay. I want to tackle some issues that are very prevalent in the community at this particular time. And one of the number one things is the debate about soy. Now, growing up around my mother and you, I know that you were very adamantly against soy from day one. Can you tell people exactly what the science is behind that?
You see, one of the things, again, we have to come back to God. You know, I'm the boy that stole the money from the church. I'm the boy that told his mother that that he loved the devil. And when I said that, everybody took offense with me. Everybody did. But listen to this. Even though I said that I love the devil, I don't put in my mouth anything that God didn't make. So if nature didn't make it, don't take it. That's common sense, isn't it? If nature didn't make it, don't take it. Why? Because that which nature makes is godly. That which is godly assimilates because they are consistent with the human body. Anything God makes is carbon-based, and so is the human body. So now when I eat soy, is it something that God made? There again, we return again to the same place. Who on earth has taught the black man that he could not afford to put starch into his mouth? The slave master wasn't interested in teaching us what to eat because that wasn't his business. His business was our shoulders. He wanted our shoulders. He didn't give a damn about what we ate and die young because he didn't have any old folks home to be nursing us until death. So naturally, they gave us starch. Soy is nothing but starch. It has a complex starch. A complex starch that is not so easily broken down or to break down. Starch is made right in England. So how could man make a substance to help me, to assist me? If man could make life, then he could make a body because it takes life to support life. You cannot make life in a laboratory. You cannot titrate life in a laboratory. And I worked with laboratories over my years as an engineer. I know that is impossible. So when you put soy in your mouth, we are saying that we are totally insane, that we are out of balance, that we don't know what the hell is going on. We got to eat this because some industrialist said this is good. But as we investigate what the industrialist says is good, we find it is starch-based. And because it is starch-based, it is poison. It is deadly. When I told the public of New York in 1985 that you should not put carrot juice in your mouth, everybody in the grandmother jumped on me because they thought that it was good. Well, I can understand that. Of course I can. My own blood rejected me. My brother, who was a preacher, rejected me because I told him that he could not eat soy nor carrot juice. When he was a preacher for 30 years, the boy couldn't hear me. Soy is artificial. It is starch-based. The thing that when you tell folks not to eat these things and they continue to do so, we must understand. We must understand when someone reads the Holy Bible that states that the herbs are for the healing of the nation and we turn our back on it, you got to be you got to be insane. Or something must have done to you. You must have been smoking something. But in this case, it was more than smoking. It was digesting. It was eating. It was drinking. It was drinking something that would turn you against God. That something is called starch. And that is soy.
Well, while we're on the topic of unnatural procedures, the colonics are becoming very explosive. They're having a resurgence in the community. Colonic clinics popping up all over the place. People feeling this is the way to go in terms of cleansing. What are your feelings on the colonic procedures as well?
People has to obey what they have been told. They have to obey. Because why? We have been educated. We have been educated. If you educate a gorilla, you would take a gorilla away from its cosmic procession. Gorilla knows what to eat from the inception of life itself. Well, if a gorilla knows what to eat, why is it that we seem to have fallen away or gotten away where we need to be held by our hands? Hold it, little black boy. You need to be educated as to the thing that you should eat. You need protein. You need enzymes. You need vitamins. You need protein. You need all these things. These things you need because the body says that you should have these things. Well, sir, was I using these things in the jungles of Africa when my body was at maximum health? I didn't have these things available to me, and my body exhibited the highest level of health that has ever been seen by any human being. And this is why we were selected to be the slaves. So now, after 500 years, I need inoculated and fed, properly vitamized with protein, and it ain't working. Our body's becoming weaker every day. Why? We are educated. Whenever you educate a people, you are saying they don't know what it is about. I got to educate them. But the gorilla, he didn't need education. He knows what to eat. We don't know what to eat. But there is a book out that was written many years ago by a white boy from Finland, this Caucasian man. He said that if your ancestors are European, your body is programmed to digest milk or lactose. But if your ancestors are African, your body is not programmed to digest milk. So now, if this European who has done research in nutrition for many years has arrived at the point that he understood that the black man, the white man is different, not better. We are not better than anyone, but we are different. In that difference, that difference has not been addressed. We eat Chinese food. We eat Caucasian food. We eat Arab food. We eat Eskimo food. But we never eat black food. And in Africa today, nobody is eating the food that is consistent with the genetic structure of the black man. And there is such thing as gene food consistency.
Dr. Sebi, we noticed that the bottled water industry is a huge industry right now. A lot of different.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. The colonics. We need to be educated, I said. But colonics have never been questioned. We have never questioned colonics. You're going to take a bag and put some water in it, and you're going to put that water up my colon. The water's already contaminated. The water that you're using to flush me out is going to take microbes into my body that was never there before. You are bypassing my saliva glands in my mouth that would have begun to break down all bacteria. And if they didn't die in my mouth, they would surely die in the hydrochloric acid chamber in my stomach. But now, our intelligence, along with the Germans, who told us that this is good, we decide to bypass the two safety zones and go to the anus, straight into the colon. Do you know what you're doing? We are putting microbes into our body that was never there before. Besides, we are pushing against the ileocecal valve or the cecum. All of these things is happening when you do a colonics. You're not really cleansing. Cleansing begins in the mouth, through the small intestines, or to the large intestines, especially the small intestines. Colonics could never get to the small intestines. It stopped at the cecum. No good. Anyone that does colonic is because they need help. People need help, not only with colonics. Now I'm going to take a vitamin because I want to nourish my body. I need help. I'm going to eat soy because they say it's good. I need help. I need help. We need help. I need help. We all need help.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dr. Sebi, we noticed an explosion in the bottled water industry within the past few years. Um, could you basically tell us what's the best kind of water we should be drinking? Some people say distilled, some people say filtered, non-filtered. What's the best kind of water we should be drinking right now?
Distilled water has been on the rise in the last 20 years. Everybody seems to think that distilled water is better than just plain old spring water. Spring water or thermal water. This is why thermal water was so high, cost so much, because this is filtered and purified by nature. So the best water is spring water. Any good spring water is good. In fact, the world report is that the best water in the world, the cleanest water in the world, come from South America. It's come from Paraguay and Argentina. That's the best water right now. The Nile is polluted. The Nile has been polluted for years. All the cities have been dumping their waste into the Lake Victoria. The Egyptians have to purify the Nile. Purified water has a chemical in it. Nature didn't make any water with chemicals. You use nature as she comes to you. Spring water.
Okay, Stevie, there's been an explosion on the scene with alkaline water. Now, as a steamboat engineer, spoke about the science of the pH scales and the pH points. Is alkaline something beneficial that people should be putting in their body?
Alkalinity is always good, providing it is alkalinity that is produced by nature. Because if you take a battery, you see, the higher you go on the alkali scale, the better it is for you. But there is a point. There is a point where you stop, like 9.6, never going into 10. But if you talk about alkalinity, all alkali food is electrical. Batteries are alkali. That's why batteries are alkali and electrical. But battery alkalinity is like 14. It will burn you. But it is alkali nonetheless. But whenever you find an alkalinity at the range of 14, nature did make it. Nature only make alkalinity between the range of 9 and 9.6. Okay, but man is now using chemicals to purify water. No good. Alkali water is not for spring water.
Okay. Now, there's another issue with the water as well, being that a lot of people are catching on to the fluoride being in the water. And I know that, a lot of people are using machines like Kagan. This don't necessarily take out the fluoride in the water. Is there any natural process to remove fluoride out of the water?
I don't know of any, unless you use some kind of carbon filter. Carbon filter will remove it, because when I was living in an apartment somewhere in Los Angeles, where people had these carbon filters. I gave it a pH test, and it was 7.6, which told me it was on the alkali side. I would have liked for it to be higher, but no, it was 7.6, and it was desirable. But I have to be careful, to make a recommendation with water, because there are so many different waters out there that is being offered. I was thinking that Fiji was the best. Someone tell me that Snow Mountain is the best. They say it's the best water. There again, that's the best water. But if it's filtered by a machine, or it is distilled, no good. Spring water, plain old spring water. I can't see what the fuss they're making about water. The black man been drinking water all his life. He didn't have any filtration. But the waters in Africa were clean then. Not so now. So we have to find the clean springs.
A couple of people I've heard mention. I've heard you in the past mention urine therapy. Is that something that we should begin to investigate and look more into?
I would think so, because myself, I remember in 1990 I was in Chicago. And I've been knowing about urine therapy for many, many years. I learned that in India. And I remember, and I don't know, you're young, I'm 76 now. I remember the folks in the old days uh, take the baby diaper and wipe the baby face when the baby had some kind of rash,
Hmm.
and the rash would go away. So what I did in Chicago in 1990 was to drink my urine. I would drink water. Oh, I would drink in a gallon plus a day, and I would urinate every second. Or not every second, but at least every 10 minutes I'd be urinating. And I would drink my urine. I would drink my urine and then more water. I did that for approximately 5 days. At the ending of the 6th day, I was totally blind. I was completely blind. And I could not understand why I was blind by drinking my own urine. When I realized what was happening, the urine was breaking down the toxins so fast in my head, and the toxins and the calcification was trying to come out too fast. It blocked my eyes. But on the 7th day of being blind, when I took the blinders off because I couldn't even resist the sunlight, I could read the finest letter across the street in Chicago. Yes, it is good.
Caller number 646-727-2039. You're on the radio today with Dr. Still world renowned Doctor Sebi.
All right. I have an explosive question to ask you next. Right. Also, in this community at this particular time, there's a lot of talk and a lot of theory based around the function and the existence of melanin. Now, you're one of the very first people that I heard that disputed the existence and the function of melanin scientifically. Without me going too much further into it, can you build on that for the people? And is there any scientific or medical proof for the existence of melanin?
The very first time that I heard about melanin was in Washington, D.C., from the mouth or from the person that promotes melanin, and before her, the black people were totally unaware of melanin. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. But as we know that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing is repeating as a student what she learned from her teacher. And her teacher told her that melanin exists. But when I questioned her, I said, Dr. Welsing, what is melanin? Her response to me was that melanin is a substance that is produced by the neuron of the nerve. Oh my God, Dr. Welsing. The nervous system doesn't produce any hormone or chemical. The only way that hormones are produced in the body are produced by glands, not a conduit. Central nerve system is a conduit to convey a message, an electrical message from your brain to the rest of your organs in your body. That is what the central nerve system is there for. Nowhere in the diagram of the central nerve system that you find anything else but transmission, not production. So, I didn't want to press the issue any further because remember, I'm the uneducated boy. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing has a doctorate degree. I have no degree, but I have what our parents had then and we have now. We call that consensus gentium, knowledge of the people, or common sense. So I put my common sense against science many, many times. Remember, science claimed there is no cure for AIDS. I cure AIDS. Science claimed that God gave us sickle cell to fight malaria, and I know science said that because the Gregory repeated that to me. But I know that God didn't say that God gave us malaria to fight sickle cell anemia. So as we come to melanin, they tell us, remember that now, they tell us not that we did research to know these things. They tell us that melanin is what makes us black. When, and again, a contradiction. Why? The only thing in science, the only thing in life, or biochemically, that could make us black is what?
Carbon.
Thank you very much. And nothing else. But they don't want to say that. They don't want to say it's carbon that we're exhibiting. Because that elevates us to a higher level. But science justifies our position that it is carbon. The concentration of carbon determines the quality of life. Whatever substance that exists. If it's carbon less, it has less life. The more the concentration, the higher the concentration of carbon, the higher is the expression of life. Melanin, well, if melanin is in the human body, you would find it also in the ground. And you will not find melanin in the soil.
What exactly does the pineal gland secrete?
The pineal gland, what did the pineal gland secrete?
Yes.
The pineal gland doesn't secrete anything. The pineal gland is made of carbon. The pineal gland is the gland that produces electricity. Doesn't secrete anything.
Okay.
The pineal gland, the pineal gland is carbon. It's the blackest part of you, am I right?
Yes.
It is the blackest part of you. And the cerebral cortex is made of what? Carbon. No, it is made of copper. The pineal gland is carbon, and the cerebral cortex is copper. So the friction of carbon and copper is what produces the resonance we call today as electricity. And if you go to a generating plant right there in New York, you have them, go to an electric plant, go to the generators and ask the operator, Mr. Engineer, what is it that produces electricity? The friction of carbon and copper. The copper wheel is turning, and those carbon brush is pressing against the copper wheel. The friction of copper and carbon is what produces the resonance known as electricity. I should know. I used to operate those generators on the ship. I'm a steam engineer. But in our head, we can't see that connection because we never understood the mechanics of the body. We have to be told by some doctor. We don't know those things. But yes, the pineal gland, the pineal gland, and the cerebral cortex is made of copper, the pineal gland, carbon, and the friction of each produces electricity. This is what makes you move. This is why you could move your mouth to talk like I'm talking now, and move your arms, move your legs, also move your heart.
What are some electrical foods we should be eating right now?
The electric food we should be eating? Oh, there are many. There are many. Whole lot. You got the mushrooms, the portobello. You have also the oyster. You also have the crimini, or you have the those wild mushrooms. You have electrical, very much so. Then you have the Brazil nuts. You could make your pate out of that. That's electrical. That's natural. I didn't say cashew nor peanuts. I said the Brazil nut, but never soy. And the other one is the natural rice, the black or the wild rice. There's quinoa. There's the red quinoa. That's electrical. Then you have the stealth flower. So you have many, many things out there that could be used. But then again, if I talk about them now on the radio, that's talking about it. They have to know how to prepare these things. They need help to make that transition. This is important to teach them how these things should be prepared. Because the one thing about us that we like is taste or aroma. We like both to eat this thing. So we have a sister that you may know of, and I think you know her, Chandra Washington, one of the best cooks that I know, along with Beverly from Philadelphia. They are preparing healthy foods, electric food. But to go out there and purchase it, I just mentioned some of the items that could be purchased. But you know, again, we're so weak that when we get home after 8 hours of work, it's difficult to tell someone to go home and prepare food because it's difficult. So we have to go, you know, to classes, workshops to learn how to prepare food fast but good. And this is why we have considered, in fact, in the spring, we are opening a string of vegetarian restaurants around the United States. We are talking about healthy food too. We're talking about fast, healthy food. We're talking about making, you know, like our burgers out of mushrooms. We have a sea moss, delicious sea moss smoothie and malt. We have many things that we intend to put on the market that, you know, and the Veggie Deli. That's the name of it, the Veggie Deli.
I got a question here, Doctor Sebi, from somebody in the chat room on the internet. They wanted me to ask you, where does serotonin and melatonin come from, since modern scientists say it comes from the pineal gland?
Serotonin and melatonin come from the pineal gland. So you want me to answer to what they say? But I have never addressed these things because these things has no place in life. See, we were told, it's like how many people, okay, here's one for you if you think that this is so strong and substantial. What about protein, which is commonly used? What is protein? Nobody knows. I mean, nobody knows what protein is. So serotonin? No. Not in Dr. Sebi's book. These are words like protein and enzymes that exist, but to identify them is very difficult. These are words that has no place in biology. These are words.
Now, from what I understand, tell me if I'm wrong. Anytime you cook food, it loses its electricity.
That
makes it.
That's the biggest lie that has ever been told. That has never been true. Raw food is better than cooked food. Food, you could never destroy food. You could take food raw. You could take food cooked. You could take food and grind it to carbon and drink it, and it's still electrical. If it's food, you cannot destroy energy. Food is energy. Could you destroy energy? No. It changes state, but not destroy it. How could you destroy energy? But the stuff that they call food is garbage. They're eating starch, raw starch. I remember when I went to New York, there are many raw people in New York. They eat raw starch, but they all are anemic. I know them, even most of them are dead now, my age, that I remember that was on a raw food kick. John Harris was one and many others. They've been dead. Why? They were eating raw starch. You could eat food in any way, in any state. Food cannot be destroyed because food is what? It is energy, it's electrical. You cannot destroy electricity. I cook the Maya. How many people have I cured of sickle cell anemia? How many people have I cured of AIDS? I cook everything I give them. But why is it so powerful that it still works? But we can't see these things. Because we think that food is carrots, beets, piece of meat. That's food. Eat that raw. Well, if we go there, all we have to think about is Charlie Mingus. That's all he ate, was raw meat and wine. Well, when he passed, they said the poor brother could only laugh and cry, and he died very young. No, that's another misinformation. Remember, we have to set the record straight. You're talking to the brother, the only brother, that had to prove to the world scientifically that he cured AIDS is Doctor Sebi. And in doing so, he had to destroy all other premise to establish the one that he represents, the African biomineral balance. But there again, nobody's interested in that. Not the leaders. And in America, the black people of America, unlike the Japanese, unlike the Russians, unlike the Arabs, they have a government. They have a government, right? You have a president. That's it. But in America, we have a president, but we need another man. He called himself a leader. You need a leader, boy. You can't do with the president alone. You need a leader. And the leader said, and that's when you move. If the leader didn't say, you don't move. You understand me? So, for the black population of America to understand what I'm saying, the leaders have to tell them, not me. My word has no place. It has no weight. But when Mr. Jesse Jackson talked, it has place. Well, in the year of 2004, Mr. Michael Jackson took me to the Rayburn building. I was in Capitol Hill with Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson took me there because he wanted the world to know that the cure of AIDS was found. The first thing he did was to make the biggest mistake. He called Elizabeth Taylor. And I swear up until this day, I don't know why he called Elizabeth Taylor. Because she's not the most credible individual that I know of. Because when she responded, and I knew that she was going to respond in the manner in which she did, Michael told her that I had the cure for AIDS. She told Michael that I need to give it away for free. Yet, the same woman have donated millions of dollars to the AIDS Foundation that has not cured anything. But I was supposed to give mine away for free. So when I got to D.C., because Michael was going to give the African a present, but I knew that Michael didn't know what he was doing. He meant that in good faith. But I knew that Michael didn't know that the African people doesn't give a damn about anything that comes from the mouth or the brain of a black American. Never would they believe anything that comes from a black American. Never on this earth. But I went along with the program. You know, I just went along because I like to go along. I like to take it to the very end to show you that what you think is going to happen is not going to happen. I said, Michael, where you taking me? Well, you know, Sebi, I promised the African a gift, and I didn't know what the gift was going to be. But I know the gift now, but I want you to go with me. When I got to D.C., the Rayburn building, he told Mr. Jesse Jackson Jr., who represent the House of Appropriation then, Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas, John Conyers from Michigan, 17 African ambassadors, and Leonard Mohammed from the Nation of Islam. All these very important people were there. I'm not important. I was never important, and I would never be important. But Mr. Jesse Jackson Jr. is important. He's a very important man. Okay? When he heard that Dr. Sebi had the cure for AIDS, and he didn't tell the black community, something is wrong, my brothers. Something is drastically wrong.
Dr. Sebi, how does mucus affect the body?
Mucus affect the body to death. It will kill you. It stifles you of oxygen. That's how mucus affect the body. And there's only one disease. That was when I told the Supreme Court that there's only one disease. It's mucus. Wherever you find that mucus concentrated, you find a disease. If it's in the brain, you're insane. If it's in the bronchial tubes, it's bronchitis. If it's AIDS, it's in the blood, skin, and lymphatic system. So anyway the mucus goes to leave the name of a disease, but it stifles you of oxygen, deprive you of oxygen.
Right. On the message boards, last night I asked some people to give me some questions to ask. A lot of people my age are requesting information on diabetes because it's affecting their families directly, their mothers, their fathers,
Their grandfathers.
Their grandfathers. Can you give people some back history on what the causes of diabetes is and how it can be effectively knocked out?
Well, I was a diabetic 46 years ago. I was 30 when I was diabetic. I'm 76 now. 46 years have gone by. I'm no longer diabetic. So what did I do? I eliminated all of the starches that was affecting me. And what starches? That's it. Bad diet. I met someone just recently on the plane that told me that he was cured of diabetes, and part of it was his diet. His diet. His diet. The American Medical Association is claiming now that obesity is costing the nation $100 billion a year. They don't want to insure overweight babies either. Babies cannot be insured nowadays. So what that is showing, that you and my children, Sisa, and many of them are about the same age, you all are receiving from the grocery store and the nutritional scale foods that were not foods but substance that would affect you adversely, because there are more chemicals now than when I was your age.
Control substances.
So now you have to eat more complex starch and sugars. Oh yes, the sugars. Oh my God, that is overwhelming. In fact, I heard that some schools are removing the pop machine from the school because they could see the adverse effect. So you all have been bombarded. You are fortunate that your mother Annette knows about foods. You are fortunate, but not all of us. Not many of you knows or have a mother like yours. Right. But yes, it's the refined foods. And not diabetes, that's the least of all. Let me tell you all something. Anybody that put meat in their mouth is suffering with parasites in their brain and their stomach. Didn't we see on CNN where this man was looking at this worm under the membrane of his eye? When he looked in the mirror, he saw a worm in his hair, in his eyes. Well, what do you expect? You eat meat. You gotta have worms. Like when you take a rotten potato, it turns to what? Worms. But when you take something natural, it never rots in the first place. It dries up. It never rots. Nothing that is natural rots. Diabetes, the result of refined foods. We've been curing diabetes now for what? How many years? 30-some odd years.
Yes.
We cured people with diabetes that were diabetic for 27 years in a week. But then we have to talk about diet. I've been talking about diet many, many years ago. But there again, I couldn't expect people to change. Remember, I proved to the world in 1988 that I cured diseases, especially AIDS. And what happened? Nothing. And nothing is going to happen. The same old song is sung. When I went to Africa to tell the African themselves and to prove to them that I could cure these diseases, they sent me to see Minister Farrakhan. I asked Dr. Parinyato in Zimbabwe, Dr. Parinyato, who are you sending me to? Have you seen Minister Farrakhan? Why don't you go see Minister Farrakhan? I said, sir, I would like for you to help me. What do I have to see Minister Farrakhan for? He doesn't have the cure for AIDS. And the doctor that he have around him, Dr. Ali Muhammad, he doesn't have the cure for AIDS or any disease. So why do you want me to see Mr. Farrakhan. I'm telling you, I have the cure for the diseases that beset your country. I'm the one. I'm the doctor, not Farrakhan.
Can I briefly ask you as well about the discovery of ibogaine? And for those that are not familiar, ibogaine being a hallucinogenic plant that helps get people off addiction. What was the reception of the African president that put you on to this particular herb?
Ibogaine?
Ibogaine, yes.
Oh, the African doesn't put you on. No, the African introduced me to the iboga. The ibogaine is an adulterated version of iboga. The iboga plant is the plant that takes away addiction overnight. If you remove any form of addiction, if you take it in the raw, pure form. But ibogaine is different. Now you're talking about a step-down version. You're talking about a chemical version. But iboga comes from Cameroon. It is one of the best plants in the world for the removal of addiction of any kind of drugs. Yes, it is good. It's highly alkaline. One of the substances that really is found in the iboga plant is two: iron fluorine or iron phosphate, and the other one is calcium. This is why the reaction is so violent. Not violent, but strong, because it is good, the natural plant. But there's another natural plant in Africa that could stop all of this mess, such as malnutrition. They call that the hudia, that come from Namibia and South Africa. The hudia. You only have to take a little piece of hudia and eat it right now, and you would not be hungry for the next 4 days, telling you that this plant is a nourisher. There are many plants in Africa. Then you have the kankansa, you have the sia, you have the popa, you have the marula. Oh, I could go on and name many African plants. But the ibogaine, that's a pharmaceutical product.
Right.
Iboga.
Correct. Pfizer came in and took hold of the iboga and turned it into ibogaine at this particular time. Is that what happened?
They didn't take all the iboga plant. You cannot control nature. They're not the owner of what God makes. They're crazy. That's not what happened.
Okay.
That's not true.
Right.
So we're going to get into some calls from the people around the country, Dr. Sebi. I ask that you ask them one question. We have a lot of people that might want to talk to him and ask some questions. So limit it to one question and please be brief. The calling number is 646-727-2039. We have about 50 minutes left. Let's go to the first caller from 619 area code. Caller, are you there?
Sorry, my computer wasn't working and I was just listening. I'm enjoying it though.
Okay, thank you, sir. Gonna go to the next caller. Caller from a 404 area code. Caller, are you there?
Peace. How you doing, man?
How you doing, brother?
All right. How you doing, Doctor Sebi?
Well, I'm doing fine, my brother.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna be brief about the question, and I'm take note of this. I wanted to know if there's any natural way to battle periodontal disease.
What kind of disease?
Periodontal disease. You know, like whitening teeth and like, you know what I'm saying, like for sensitive teeth.
I can't hear you. Sensitive teeth?
Yeah, like.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have a treatment for that, of course. Remember, I gave the number 310-838-2490.
Okay. All right. We're gonna get to the next caller. Caller from 608 area code. Caller, are you there? Yes, 608 area code. Are you there? Probably somebody else just listening. Going to the next caller from a 305 area code. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, do you have a question for Dr. Sebi?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to know, he's speaking in regards to healthy alternatives to living, but this is for adults. You know, what steps And what meals can we cook up for children under 5 years old, who you do not want to eat meat and consume, I guess you could say, food that's been genetically altered? What foods, what meals can we cook, can we make to make sure our children grow to be healthy,
Very good. That's a very good question, my sister. I personally, when you ask Dr. Sebi that question, then I have to respond the way that I have seen it.
All right, that's the one I'm speaking right now.
There's a little boy in Los Angeles. They call him Baby Sebi. When this little boy was born, the mother gave the little baby her breast, but she was drinking sea moss. Sea moss. Sea moss have to be careful. You have to be careful when you purchase it. But the little boy grew up until he was 6. I didn't know the little boy, but the little boy has been skipped 2 grades already in school. So when I go to the church to do a lecture, somebody came and pulled me by my pants. And I look at the little boy. I said, yes. So you know who I am? I said, no, I'm Baby Sebi. I said, wow. I've been hearing about you now for 6 years. Nice meeting you. The boy is healthy. The boy looked like something from space. Healthy, blood flowing, happy, a balanced little boy. Never cried in his life. This is what healthy food does. Mother gave him sea moss. She make a porridge in the morning. Sister, you're calling from Florida?
Yes, I am from South.
Where in Florida?
I'm Miami.
Well, I live in Miami. I'm talking from Miami now. I'm at 888 Biscayne.
Yeah, I'm in Miami Gardens, so I'm on 187th.
But I would like to help you with that. I'm at 888 Biscayne.
888 Biscayne?
Yes.
888 Biscayne? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that's the Marina Blue, 9th and Biscayne Boulevard.
Right, okay. So
okay.
All the way down there.
Well, yeah, sea moss. Give the baby sea moss. But we will be having workshops here in Miami, in New York, in Chicago, Atlanta, Washington. In the spring they begin. And we'll be having these workshops to show the mothers how they could, nourish their children. Because my little girl now is 21. She's 25. She never had a breakfast in her life. All she did was to suck her mother's breast for 8 years. She have to run my business now. She never been to school. Very smart.
So sea moss.
Right. Sea moss. But about the sea moss, there is an artificial sea moss being sold out of Boston. It looks like it's always wet. When you buy sea moss, make sure it is dry. Dry. I mean dry. Because the artificial sea moss that they make artificially, it never dries completely. It's always wet.
Okay. So we can get that from any natural food store, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We sell the sea moss in Los Angeles, already prepared and grind up for you, where you only have to take a half a tea or a teaspoon, put in the blender with some milk made of walnut or even hemp milk, warm, and you make yourself a nice breakfast. You will be happy.
And it would be like a porridge, right?
Yes, a porridge. Where you from originally? Jamaica?
No, my family's from Haiti.
Haiti?
So we don't call it porridge. We call it labouille, but it's the same.
Hey, well, look. My grandfather was from Guadeloupe, La Plaine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't speak Creole in Honduras.
All right. Thanks for the call, sis. We gonna get to the next caller.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Once again, caller number, y'all, 646-727-2039. We're gonna get to the next caller. Caller from our 646-525 number. Caller, are you there? Yes. Hello, caller, are you there? They guess Listen, we're going to get to the next caller from a 480 area code caller. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I wanted to ask Dr. Sebi, my friend's mom just got diagnosed with a line-size cancer lump or tumor in her breast, and the doctor wants to do chemotherapy and surgery. I was wondering if there was any alternative methods that you might inform me about.
Well, the one that we have been using over these years, the natural one, the godly one, the only one, the carbon-based one. And recently, for your information, that I'm so satisfied with myself now, a woman went down to Honduras and at the healing village, and her breast was completely rotting off. And we begin to put a poultice. We're making a special poultice with the cablote plant, a very powerful plant called the cablote. It's one that the Maya used to use. We put this poultice on this woman's breast that was already rotten off. In 2 months, guess what we saw? A brand new breast growing back with a nipple on it. Would you believe that? Well, you should. Glands grows back. All glands grows back. Philip's mother, which is Annette introduced me to a woman many years ago named Zadia Ife from Philadelphia that had myasthenia gravis, and which is the degeneration of the cells of the brain. The doctor told the woman that they would never go back. But I tell you what, she's running again, she's walking again, and everything else is happening. Prior to coming to me, they had cut her thymus gland out. After she came to me, 2 years later, they found out that her gland grew back. And the breast is a gland. The mammal glands, they're glands. They grow back. But you have to provide them with that alkali environment for such occurrence to take place. There is help, in other words.
So you said she needed a certain herb, or was it just get her body alkaline?
Well, the only thing that would make put the body in an alkali state would be herbs. They're herbs. That's how it would alkali the body. Herbs. And I can't see why we have to question the herbs. Because when I was going to Sunday school, the thing that they teach you is to learn to read the Bible from page to page, from front page to the last one, from Genesis to Revelation. And in the Bible, in 3 different places, or 4 or 5, it shows that the herbs are for healing. In the first book, Genesis 1-9, the herbs are for healing. So what could have caused us to look the other way? Why do we allow the doctors to give up a family chemotherapy when the Bible said the herbs are for healing? And if you go to the Quran, it says the same thing. If you go to the Talmud or the Torah, it says the same thing. Not to mention the Bhagavad Gita, they all support the herbs are for healing. So when we go to get chemotherapy and an injection, then it's only saying that we need help. That's all it is saying. We need help. And I was one of them. Because when I was sick, I was only 24. And they gave me an operation in Casablanca, Morocco. But if I had done better, and that was not to come until 6 years later, that was 30, my diabetes persisted. My impotence persisted. I wore glasses. And I was very extremely angry. But someone that not only believed in God, he delivered himself to God. Because he asked me, do you believe in God? I said, of course I do. He said, that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with everybody. All they do is say that they believe in God. But that doesn't help them nor God. Because when you tell someone that you believe in God, you're saying to someone that you're uncertain about God. But when you deliver yourself to God, you get the goodies. You get the benefits. But when you reject God, you get nothing. And that's what we've been doing, unconsciously. Brother, my mother did it. My grandmother did it. I did it. because we didn't know. But truth is here.
All right. Thank you very much for that information. That's taking my call. Good job, Doc. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Peace.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Real quick question, Doctor Sebi. How many times should we eat a day? You know, we've been taught to eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Some people say one meal. What should be the limit and what's the best time to eat?
You know something about that time and how many? That is why it is necessary. And I'm going to put forth this appendix. When they brought the people from Africa to make them slaves, how did they look?
Cut out.
They were strong. Nobody was overweight. Everybody was muscular. How many times a day were they eating? You don't know. What were they eating? You don't know. How much were they eating? You and I don't know. We don't know. So now, Dr. Sebi, knowing that he couldn't go back to Africa to ask those who live there now because they don't know. How I know that they doesn't know is because they've been eating a complex thought they call the maniac root, and that makes you insane. Everybody in Africa is totally insane. So when you ask me the question about how many times to eat and what to eat, well, I'm only give you what I have put into motion over the last so many years, 45, 46 of them. When I wake up in the morning, I drink my sea moss. I know that's going to nourish me with the iodides and the bromides. That I know. Sea moss, then I don't eat anything at noon, not even a salad. I may put a piece of fruit in my mouth or dates. But in the evening, yes, I'm going to eat some red quinoa, and I'm going to eat other things such as the pate. I may eat some sauteed spinach and mushrooms. And that's it. And that's sufficient. And about bread, I love bread. And I have to get away from it, even though I eat spelt bread. But, even though it's spelt, they're adulterated with certain things, and I have to get away from that, but I like it. But it's less harmful. At least it is a transition. You could go on that. Go with that. So what we're seeing here, we need to go back home. You see, we need to go back home. By going back home, how God had things arranged. You see, there's a book written by a white lady, a very intelligent white lady. I guess all white people are intelligent. She wrote about the superhuman. Do you all hear about the book? You all never heard about the superhuman?
No, not that book, no.
Okay, well.
J.A. Rogers.
Well, this is what she wrote about the superhuman when she was asked, who does she identify as the superhuman? She said, first of all, the superhuman is a person that doesn't wear clothes. He's insect repellent. He behaves like a baby, like a child. He doesn't have a doctor nor a pharmacy, and he doesn't have any supermarkets. That is the superhuman. Who did she just describe? It does describe some folks that live in the forest that they call the jungle. She just described some folks that ate electric food. You see, the man in the forest, but the Africans, he didn't have any potatoes. He didn't have yams. He didn't have rice. He didn't have beans. He didn't have a cow. He didn't have a lamb. All those things lamb came from Arabia. The cow came from Europe. What did we have? We only had that which God had made. And that's why we look the way we look then. But we don't look like that now. Look, we came here, we were naked. We had no clothes on. But we look good. You take your clothes off now and see how funky you look. Extended stomach, vaginal discharge, Just name it. You know, we have everything under the sun. Yet we try to make excuses to defend that. But it is time for us to go back to the mother. I wrote a paper many years ago, Back to the Mother. You have to. That is something that you cannot break. You see, you don't feed gorillas polar bear food. You don't do that. There is such thing as gene food consistency. We've been given the wrong food to eat. Elijah Muhammad said that. So we need to go back, and nobody could stop us, because that is our right. That is our culture right position. That is our culture. But now we have something else besides culture. What they call it? Tradition. It is, Bongo, why are you giving your child maniac root? They call it gari in Nigeria. It is the tradition of my people. I say, well, to hell with the tradition. Tradition has nothing to do with reality and culture. Tradition could only mean that something was introduced and you obeyed it, and 500 years of it is carried on. That doesn't make it right, because it is tradition. You're eating that food as a tradition.
Let me ask you something about the soil in which these particular herbs come from that are nutrient and in accordance with our body, right? You speak about, going back to the mother, and I understand the science of that. I've been around long enough, yourself, my mother, to see that, the herbs that are indigenous to quote unquote an African soil produce the best results when made into herbal concoctions. Now, you yourself were given particular herbs when you were in Mexico to get you up for the diabetes, and also you coming from Honduras, from a very indigenous culture that has been there for hundreds of years. Are there not herbs that are native to this particular soil that can be used, that are, that would coincide and work with our physiology and our makeup?
Of course. You could use herb from Finland, you could use herb from Greenland, you could use herb from Mongolia. As long as that herb is a natural one, it's going to assimilate, because it is electrical, it is carbon based.
Right.
You don't have to be from that place. But I'm going to tell you something about indigenous people and herbs. Do you know that not even 1/10% of Chinese use herbs, and less than 1/10% of the population of Honduras or Mexico use herbs? Yet there are herbs in these countries that are powerful and will heal you. And just go to Africa. Who use herbs in Africa? Nowhere. They use drugstore medicine. Forget about that other stuff. Herbs are there. The herbs are there, but the herbs medically or nutritionally, the herbs are used for voodoo. That's another thing. It's spirit world. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. The herbs in Africa are used with the orish by the orishas and the dead chicken. You got to cut a chicken head off and bleed him and use herbs. These things go in hand when it comes to voodoo. You see, we've been taken away from reality, so far away from that we are now attached to voodoo. When I went to Africa, I had to fight the government. When I got by one of the government, I had to fight the witch doctor. Well, I couldn't win with him. Because if you win with him, he's going to have you killed anyway. Because you are interfering with his exalted position. I am the healer of the community. Who are you coming all the way from California? Who are you to come and invade my territory? This is not about saving Africa. It's about having prestige. I am the healer. I am the bush doctor. I'm the shaman.
It's a hierarchy.
So yet the brother is eating maniac root and a very big stomach, a very big belly. Look like he's 18 months pregnant, but he's gonna fight you. So how do we get to Africa and help them use the herb that's been there for millions of years? I don't know. I'll try. Cost me over $50,000. I learned my lesson the hard way. I learned my lesson the hard way. You see, I'm the boy that everybody calls stupid. I'm the boy that everybody called crazy. I'm the boy that didn't go to school. I'm the boy that stole the money from the church. I'm the boy that didn't care about anything. So I got to be crazy. So every decision that I make has to be on a very shaky foundation or a premise that's inconsistent because I'm nuts. I'm stupid. Everybody reject God, I go towards God. I took the money from the church because I know that God doesn't need any money. But I was crazy to do that. I was supposed to give God money. So when I found the cure for AIDS, I'm going to do something very stupid. You see, I'm always doing stupid things. I went to Africa. I said, well, I'm an African by heritage. So I'm going to Africa to help them cure these diseases because Africa is dying. 10,000 a day. What they told me, you're crazy. I said, I knew that. I said, Dr. Pagnato, I know I'm crazy. I said, I knew that from the day I was born because a little boy named Richard had a book in front of me once when I was 8 years of age, and he was telling me, showing me in the book that a cow jumped over the moon. And I didn't want to believe that. I didn't want to believe that because I'm stupid. I was supposed to believe that the cow jumped over the moon. So I know you're right, Dr. Pagnato. I'm going back to the United States. I'm crazy. Completely crazy.
You're not crazy, doctor.
Got to be. Because my brother told me that in front of my face. I was sitting at the table with my mother. I said, Mom, you know, I came in yesterday and the preacher boy here had a big hog head on his table and he was bleeding. And I don't know what he's going to do with this animal bleeding head. But I want to ask my brother, what is he doing with this hog head on his table? Randy, my brother, the preacher, he's a preacher for 30 years now. The preacher said, you shut your mouth, you disgusting individual. Mother, did you know that he smokes marijuana? I said, there he goes again. I said, Mom, I don't know how my brother is alive. I swear, Mom, I don't know how God have this boy alive. Because this boy is telling you that I smoke marijuana, yet he smokes cigarettes, and God did not make any tobacco, but I know God made marijuana. That I know. Because it's a natural plant. And he is going to use that against me. He's always against God. Just like you read the book of Genesis, and the book of Genesis says the herbs are for the healing of the nations. Well, if my brother, who is a preacher for 30 years, could tell God to go to hell and his herbs, we're not going to stand him saying what he just said. Because he's anti-God, along with the rest of the preachers. See? We have it just backwards. Whenever there's a plant growing on your lawn, it's a weed. No, brother, it's a dandelion plant. It's a weed. That's what it is. Get it out. And what you mean he come with these herbs like the man asked me in Chicago? Who is this man anyway? The wife said, well, you know, he's Doctor Sebi. Doctor what? What's wrong with his shoes? Well, I always wear funny-looking shoes and funny-looking clothes. I never look right. The man had a right to question my integrity. He said, what do you have in those bags? Sitting over there looking like a guru. What is in your bag of tricks? I said, sir, I have some herbs. You better get out of here. You better get out of here. And guess what? This man was a preacher. That's why I'm afraid now. Because if a preacher have the nerve to turn their back on God, what is it that he wouldn't do to me? You see? That's the reality in which we live today. My brother was a preacher for 30 years. He didn't give a damn about God and his herbs. He died 22 years ago. But God kept me here. Praise God. I'm going to smoke marijuana until I die. Must have something good about it. I've been smoking on it for 60 years. He was smoking cigarettes for about 20. He died. That's my barometer. That's my yardstick.
Right. Another question, because you often refer to people having cyanide on the brain. How does that process come about?
I just said it. You only have to go to Brazil and Africa and you see it. Sit down with people that eat cyanide. Cyanide, not only cyanide, arsenide. What about mercury in the fish? You know, I was supposed to go to South America to address a meeting in Uruguay, in Montevideo, on mercury on your brain. But cyanide was there first. Cyanide is found in starches. But there is a complex starch that come from the tropics that you Americans didn't have. This is why, look carefully, to justify what I'm going to say, look carefully, that all the inventions in the world came from the brain of Black America. None from the African brain. None from the Brazilian black brain or the Haitian. It came from the American black brain. It's not that those brothers are less intelligent or less equipped, because I'm a Haitian by background too, and Cuban. But we had the maniac root. You didn't. You didn't have the cassava. And the reason why you didn't have cassava in your diet for you to have more cyanide on your brain is because it couldn't grow in America. So they couldn't feed you that. But if the maniac root was able to grow in America, they would have fed you that the way they fed the rest of the slaves in the world. And that controls their thinking. It stunts their thinking. It paralyzes their brain. Cyanide on your brain. Yes, cyanide is through the maniac root. Also, potatoes have cyanide. That Irish potato that we like, where you just give that what you call a chloride test, or you give it a pH test. You could give it a total dissolved solid test. You could give it many tests, and you will see where you find cyanide present. You see, anything that is made by man must have cyanide, arsenide, mercury, and antimony. This is necessary. These are used as binders. Well, that's for a lecture.
Okay. We got about 20 minutes left, y'all. We're going to get to the next caller. Please make your question brief. Only 20 minutes left. Want to get to as many callers as possible with the remaining time. Caller from a 914 area code. Caller, are you there? Yes, from a 914 area code. Are you there? Okay, moving on. We're going to go to the 845 area code. Caller, are you there?
Peace, brothers.
Peace.
Yes, my question, Doctor Sebi, is I'm trying to get rid of this head cold that I have. It's like mucus that I'm spitting up and coughing up. Is there any home remedies that I can do to get rid of it?
I don't know of any home remedy, but I tell you what, if you start drinking milk and eating cheese and putting those eggs in your mouth, you would stop. Because I used to have that severely. I used to have more mucus than anybody else. And it was until I stopped eating those foods. This is why it is very good for us to listen, you know. I mean, the most beautifulest thing is to listen. You could be talking to anyone, you listen. I don't care what they're saying, you listen. then you process it later. But you listen. And one of the things that I did when I was, I came to America, remember, I joined the Nation of Islam. And that was when the process of healing began with me. I started eating pork because the messenger was the only individual that told us, please, don't eat this. And there were people that told me that they would die before they give up their pork. Well, I know I've had that said to me so many times, I'd rather die. And they're right. We are right. We are right. Because we never knew the damage that starch and the thing that we ate had done to us. And this is why we find ourselves now at a deficit. But that's okay. We could come out of it. And this is why we came into this entity, learning about this. Because, brothers, I was a steam engineer and I was doing very good. I was making more money than I could spend in the 80s, the 70s. But I couldn't stay there. I had to come to this because it looked like I had detected that all of the healers were doing some things that were not as good as they would have liked for it to be for us, because I know that everybody that's into healing, all of us that's into healing, we want to help you. We want to help you. But the information that we are using that is supposed to be credible is not. So in the year of 1988, I had to tell the Supreme Court that they were wrong. That they were wrong. That their premise was inconsistent, was unfounded. And they asked me, but what do you have to offer in return? I have the African biomineral balance, which is a therapeutical approach that only identifies one disease, just one, the one that you mentioned, the mucus. The mucus that causes all the diseases in the world. The African biomineral balance identifies one disease. Furthermore, on the second leg, that the African biomineral balance knows that the only cure could come from a carbon-based substance. And whenever you eat anything that isn't carbon-based, you will get mucus in your nasal passages, on your lungs and on your chest, your heart, your eyes, your brain, everything become obstructed. So, if you want to rid yourself of the mucus as quick as you possibly can because it's affecting the cells, well, we have a product known as the Banju. B-A-N-J-U, Banju. We have another one known as the Viento. The Viento, which is I'm selling a great bit of that now because it's very good. It affects the system, the central nerve system. It gives you energy and it removes substance from the colon. Everybody is ranting and raving about the Viento. This is our latest product that addresses mucus directly also. But yes, it is important that you rid yourself of the mucus because it is the substance that removes oxygen from your body. It deprives the cell of oxygen, which interferes with your energy. Yeah.
Dr. Sebi, a quick question. I purchased your herbs years ago, probably about 6 years ago or something like that. And it was great. The only complaint I had was that I think I got the BioElectra, and it ran me to the bathroom. And I was eliminating everything. You know what I'm saying? So anybody that wants to cleanse themselves, I know those herbs are top notch. But you're gonna be running to the bathroom though. I tell you that, but definitely gonna be running to the bathroom. But,
well, the BioElectra, we have the Chelation 1. We have the Chelation 1 and the Green Food Plus. That has changed already. I'm never satisfied. I'm never satisfied with anything that I've done. I want to always improve because I'm never satisfied.
That's great.
You know, even though, do you know that when I come to New York, I will be showing you, brothers and sisters, that there were people that had AIDS and came to us, HIV positive, and on 17 days later, they were HIV negative. I have those diagnostic sheets to produce, not to mention the numerous of others. So what I'm saying, we are responsible. We, the black race, are responsible. Your brother Sebi and servant, he 38, 40 years ago decided to do the research that would complement us and the world. Because, you know, we black people, we love everybody. That's automatic with us. We don't have a history of hating anyone. And I said that I wanted to help. I thought it was a moral position. But what I thought was moral was offending.
We're going to get to the next caller. Caller from the 954 area code.
Peace,
caller,
brothers.
Yeah. Peace.
What's up, brothers? Peace. Dr. Sebi, I had a question for you. I wanted to know, do you sell anything or know any plants that rid your body of THC from marijuana?
Rid the body of THC.
Yeah.
Well, I have many products because I remember once there was a lady in Washington who was going to take a test to be a police cadet. I was smoking a joint and I passed it to her. She was hitting it. She said, "Now, why in the devil you want to give me this and I'm going to go tomorrow to take this test?" And she inadvertently took it. And I gave her something that we make that I put it in a glass of water and she went next and she passed the test.
Wow.
And that was within 24 hours or less.
Do you sell it on your site?
Well, you could ask them to tell them what you want it for, and they'll know what to send you.
Do you have his information, brother?
Yeah.
Do I what?
I got his website, drsebi.com.
No, it's drsebiproducts.com.
Okay, Dr.
drsebiproduct.com.
Sebi. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, brothers.
All right, brother. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right, we got 10 minutes left, y'all. We're going to try to squeeze in a couple more questions before we let Dr. Sebi go. We're going to go to a caller from the 619 area code. Caller, are you there?
Yes. What one book would you recommend, and what is the best book that you ever wrote?
What herb do I recommend, and what is the best book I've ever wrote?
Yes.
Well, what herb? Well, let me say this. The book that was written about me is in circulation now. You could ask that online. 7 days at the Usha village with Doctor Sebi. 7 days with Doctor Sebi at the Usha village. 7 days with Doctor Sebi at the Usha village. The book is out now. It's been many people reading it. And, about the herb, what herb? I don't know how to answer that question because each herb has a different characteristic, and each herb addresses a different disease in a different way. So when you ask what herb do I recommend, there is no such thing as the best herb in the world. I could name some powerful herbs. I could name herb like the condurango. I could name herb like the other one from Africa, which I said the hudia. I could name herb like the cancansa. These are powerful herbs, like the popa. That's powerful. I mean, they are powerful herbs. But then I could name herb like the sarsaparilla. I could name herb like the shepherd purse. And each of these herbs that I just mentioned Each has a different plays a different role in the human body. Not one herb is better than the other.
Are there any herbs that are greater that we can, well, not greater, but is there any herb that's easier to grow here in our environment that's helpful to us?
Well, and there are many, many, many herbs in the United States. One of them is the Virginia snake root, one of the most powerful herbs in the world. And then you have the bitter weed. That's another powerful herb. Then you have the burdock root. That's a powerful herb. You have the burdock, the yellow dock. You don't use comfrey. Oh, for God's sake, don't you ever use comfrey. Don't you use golden seal.
Why not?
Don't you do that? Don't you use golden seal nor comfrey because they are artificial. They are starch-based. They are unnatural. I'm glad that you asked the question because we talk about hybrid foods, but we didn't talk about hybrid plants. Oh, yes, sister. And let me tell you all something. 99% of the herb that the herbalists use in the United States are hybrid. 99% are bad for you. And the little that they use that is natural, they would also integrate them with the unnatural, and then they confound the compound. Oh, yes, we need help. I know I need help. Yes, the other day I gave a show in New York where this musician by the name of Hamid Blewett put me in front of the audience for me to receive healing from the audience because he knew that I needed healing. Something is wrong with me.
All right. Thanks for the call, sister.
Now, to build on that note that we need help, when are you going to start your apprentice program again?
Oh boy, you know, I've been asked to go to Africa in December to a health summit. I have to go to South America to address another health issue with the mercury thing. I have a lecture in Chicago, and I have to build. You know, Doctor Sebi put together something about 15 years ago that he called electric organic agriculture. Electric agriculture. Electric agriculture means that I could take a tomato or a cucumber that is non-electrical and electrify it. And then another thing that I'm doing now is I'm building the, I've invested over quite a few hundreds of thousands of dollars in the village because I'm going into what is called vertical agriculture, something that you New Yorkers are doing now. Vertical agriculture. The only thing with me is that I'm feeding the root bound of the plant electric food that I make myself from electric plants. So all that I have to do, I need help. I need help for people to take over these particular different fronts that I could have time to train people because Dr. Sebi by himself cannot do it. You know that. Mm-hmm. You know that, Paul. I can't do this. Yeah. I need help. But as I said that I need help, I need to be very clear when I said that to you. You have heard me said, and many brothers have taken, offense with what I said, that the healers has to be women. They has to be women because they are the nurturers. They are the one that we came out. We came from them. They are the nurturers. They are the healers. To be a healer, you have to be a nurturer. I'm not a healer. I'm the messenger of healing. The healer is a woman. Right. Me, I have to go into we brothers have a place in the whole process, though. We have to build. We have to do the farming. We have to do the further research and compounding. All of this is part of this project. The Veggie Deli. The Veggie Deli is a $200 million project that you all will know up in a couple of few. Yes, and don't worry, $200 million is no money. It's cheap change. No money. We threw away $500 million 7 years ago. We threw it away in one day. One day. And I remember a brother having having problem with me. You know, they always have problem with me anyway. I'm stupid. You know, I asked a question. I said, just a minute. You want me to go to Washington? He said, for what? The Day of Atonement. I said, what am I going to do when I get there? Nothing. All you're going to do is spend some money to get there and come back. I said, why can't we take that money that we're going to spend to go there and do nothing and put that in a kitty? And I bet that each brother that went to Washington, some paid over $3,000 to get there from England and all over. But let me average it out to $500 a brother going to D.C. and back. I love you and go back home. That's it. And that's where I'm going to spend my $500 for. Okay. 1 million brothers that went to D.C. spent $500 on the average. $500 million? We throw it away? That the hotels make money and the bus and the train? Oh my God. Hey, that is kind of crazy. So the sisters in Philadelphia showed me how crazy we brothers are. So they came up with a $200 million project. Well, if we could throw away $500 million, well, Sebi, where we have this business proposal here in front of me, us, and in here it shows ships, land, textile production, medicine production, and training, housing, and all they have to spend, and we own 2 ships and 2 planes, and all this going to cost us is $180 million. We still have $20 million to play with. You all hear what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to do it. And the year 2010 is when it began, January 1. We are asking for every brother and sister that could afford $200 to be part of this, the Veggie Deli. You will have that much ownership in it. Each and every one of us will be owners in it, not Doctor Sebi. I'm sick and tired of hearing that because every brother comes with something. He owns it. He leads. He's the boss. But why can't we all be the boss? Why can't we all contribute? Why do I have to be? You know, I remember when I told the public of D.C. in 1984 that I wanted to build a healing village. They told me they didn't trust me with their money. I said, okay, fine. I went to build a village. There it is now. So you know what I want to do? I want to sell the village to us now. Some Chinese people offer me $5 million, but I don't want to take no Chinese. Too beautiful to let some Chinese people take it. I want us to own it. I'm going to sell it to us for half that price. And it's only going to cost each brother like $100. But you could go to Honduras. You go to Honduras. You could receive benefits for the $200. You will be a member. You don't have to come up with the $1,500 a week. Now you don't have to pay anything because you're a member of this. But these things were never brought to us. What they brought to us was marching. Just march. Every time something, just march. Something, just march. We're going to march again. Okay. But
hey, Dr. Sebi, I don't want to cut you off, but we got exactly 1 minute left, brother. And it's been the 2 hours went by very fast. Very fast. But I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank Blue Pill Paul for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Like I said, Doctor Sebi, November 14th in New York. Go to his website, Dr. Sebi Products. The number 310-838-2490. We might have to get a part 2 from you, Dr. Sebi.
But I don't mind because it feels good talking to you, with you brothers. You see, you brothers are the ones that are going to carry the torch tomorrow. You guys need us like we need you. But what happened in the past, we didn't have anything to give you. It was chaotic. It was about drugs. And they confuse us again. But this time, it's on.
I look forward to it, brother.
Brother,
Right.
well, you tell your family, especially Kimani, that I love them. You know I love you guys.
We love you too, Dr. Sebi.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show, Dr. Sebi.
Thank you, and thanks everyone who's been listening. Thank you, brothers. Peace.
youtube.com/openupyourmind101